The voice of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
Hi, this is Arlene, and you are listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.
Hi, this is Gowri. Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful Friday morning today, and for those of you who always cannot wait for the weekends, here you go. Thank God it's Friday.
Oh yeah, we also have Asmod in the house. Hey,
Hi.
Asmod. uh, so I today we have a very interesting company, Cheng and Co. That will be discussing with us, but not now. He will
Mm-hmm.
be sharing his ideas and thoughts at 9:15 for our ABC dialogue. While for our Blast from the Grassroots, we have who is that?
We have Tech Win,
Ah,
actually.
yeah, TechWin will be talking about the haze issue that is happening lately, and also the forest fires
Mm-hmm.
in Indonesia. But first of all, if you want to follow us and want to comment more, you can always go to our Facebook and Twitter, duranasian.com Facebook and Twitter, and just share with us what your thought about our shows.
And you can also listen to us on your smartphone. You can download our TuneIn app and search for Durian ASEAN. And apart from that, you can also, of course, follow us on our YouTube channel. We upload 2 new videos every day, the podcast and also a 3-minute summary. And we upload from Monday to Friday. So if you want all our updates, yeah, Facebook, Twitter, TuneIn, YouTube, that's the way to
And
go.
if they miss all our show and they want to know what is the weekly updates on that, they can always subscribe to our weekly digest,
Yeah,
which is
and we also
which is at durianasian dot
mhm.
at gmail.com.
And also, we update our website every day with informations of all our speakers, our daily topics. So, durianasan.com, that's our website. You can tune in to us live and also get all the information that you need about all the shows, the DJs.
Of course, live is Durian ASEAN, www.durianasian.com. So our first news today, just now I mentioned about our blast from the grassroots, which we will be talking about haze with Tech Queen, but for now we will be sharing with you about the latest stories reported a few days ago, actually 2 days ago, regarding on Indonesia's haze and how it affected Malaysia and Singapore.
The today rise that Indonesia warns his could reach actual Singapore and Malaysia as fires spike. A spike in forest fires in Riau province sparked a warning yesterday from Indonesia's disaster agency that haze could spread to Singapore and Malaysia.
So, the agency tallied a rise in hotspots from 97 to 366 in the province over a 1 day period, AFP reported. And 25 hotspots in Malaysia have been identified, and nearly all of them are actually in Pahang. And other states, Johor, Sarawak, Kedah, Kelantan, Malacca, Selangor, Perak, and also Penang is actually one of the hotspots. And to prepare for the haze this year, Indonesia has set aside 30 million US dollars.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Oh yeah, and they've put in also 2,500 military personnel on standby with 15 planes and helicopters helping with aerial firefighting, monitoring, and cloud seeding efforts.
But one thing they also forgot to report is the El Nino effect, the El Nino phenomenon that will be hitting this region.
Mhm.
And I think it's not the cause, but it will it will sort of add more fire to the fire itself. Especially the forest fires that are happening in a lot of the jungles in Sumatra.
I found it really helpful to download an app and just monitor the haze level.
Oh, okay. You want to tell us
Uh,
what app is that?
um, I have to check that out. But there are a bunch of apps in Google Store or
Hmm.
maybe in iTunes Store too. So if people are concerned about their health, maybe they can. That's one way to do it.
But a lot of us also do not forget it's also not Indonesia. Even Malaysia has problem with forest fires, and
Mm-hmm.
which also contributes add more fire to the
Is it?
haze.
I was just curious, Asmo. Is this your first time actually being affected by haze?
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned.
Okay. Because I think we Malaysians have just gotten to a point. I mean, I remember back then when I was in school, uh,
The
when
worst
there's
one
haze,
in the
yeah.
90s, isn't
And
it?
the moment there's like a haze warning, everyone rushes to the nearest 7-Eleven and get all this mask,
But
and
it's
they're concerned about going
but a
to
lot of people
school.
do not know. The
Mm-hmm.
face masks do not have any effect at all
That's right.
towards the
I
haze.
actually read an article that said it helps like 20%, but it's really not that
Because
effective.
these haze are not
Mm.
like dust particles. They are more minute than that, so they can penetrate into the face mask itself, the surgical face mask. What you need is an actual there's a specialized face mask where it can sort of filter even
Mm-hmm.
the minute particles of the haze.
So, going back to El Nino, I just want to explain a little bit
Mhm.
about how it affects our climate. Really, it
Mhm.
seems that it happens mostly in Southeast Asia in drier than normal conditions, whereas in Central and Eastern Equatorial Pacific is usually unusually wet. And typically, El Nino lasts between 6 to 18 months, and it develops in the middle of the year, peaks towards the end of the year, and declines early of the year the following year. So El Nino of the same intensity may not give rise to exact replicate of climate patterns.
Actually, I'm on the you would never imagine. Maybe they do not advertise it or what,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but at the ASEAN official ASEAN website, they actually have a haze monitoring site. It's called a Haze Action Online, and you can go on haze.asean.org. You can actually have a live sort of mapping live map of where the forest fires is coming from. So it's quite interesting, like I think ASEAN is somehow doing something towards countering the haze, although
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not as much as it should be, but at least I think this is a very good site for us to at least know, where the forest fires are and where what is the amount of haze that the government should monitor.
And another thing I want to bring up as well is how we keep blaming Indonesia
Mhm.
uh, year in and year out for all the haze problem. And I don't deny it; they do play a part in because their open burning is a lot widely practiced than Malaysia. But we do have a lot of open burning in Malaysia as well, and I see it a lot, especially in like the kampong areas, and I think that we ourselves need to change that first. Probably increase the awareness, or probably maybe call the police even when you see someone practicing open burning, or advise them or something, and before just pointing all the fingers to Indonesia and blaming them for it.
Perhaps we can talk about it a bit later, but maybe you guys can just point out how much of it is human caused, and how much of it is natural.
Well,
You know.
interestingly, majority of the effect is human cause. I mean, from by interview and also from this website, it seems like the human cause is more than the natural cause. The thing is like this: prior to the 90s, usually the haze issue will be a season cycle. It won't be like a yearly event. It will be maybe once a while, but that is also because of open fires and the El Nino effect. But now we are seeing it more frequently, as in like it's not just yearly. It seems like every 2-3 months there's one
Mm-hmm.
haze happening, isn't it? Like the last haze was a couple of months ago, if I'm not
That's
mistaken.
true.
So, I mean, if I mean you cannot have a natural cause and it's happening like over and over again, while it wasn't happening as much as frequently as before. So, from another conversation that I have, it seems like a majority of the forest fire happen because of farmers and big industries cleaning up land areas and giving way to either commodity crops, plantation, or other sort of productions that they need to, yeah, burn. So it's definitely a majority human cause effect.
So I think like in KL itself, one the most affected places are like Subang, Sepang,
Mm.
and
What about
even
us in Petaling Jaya? Will it be affected?
It was high 2 days ago. I'm not sure because it has rained this morning, so it might be a bit low. The concentration of haze in the atmosphere.
So, I mean, talking about talking about haze, I think we also need to evaluate Malaysia in different
Mm-hmm.
contexts as well. And I'm glad that I saw from the economists this good nation index. Although there's a lot of criticism towards the good nation index, but interestingly, the index provided a very interesting ranking towards where Malaysia stand in terms of how they do good globally, and how it actually measures is it was released by June 24th by Simon Adhod. Actually, it's from an independent website, and he's an independent policy advisor, measuring actually how much each country on Earth contributes to the planet and to the human race. And he's doing it in the form of nation state. So each nation he will measure like how much. He has a few criteria, and he will measure it how much you actually contribute globally instead of just towards your own domestic needs.
So the measure is based on 35 data sets broken down into 7 areas such as technology, health, and culture. And it seems that the index often scales countries on a GDP basis to give poor countries a chance against rich ones. And sorry.
And the index ranks Malaysia 50th in general in overall, but say in equality and prosperity, it ranks Malaysia as 10th, 10th in the ranking. So Malaysia is pretty high if we just consider the prosperity ranking.
Mm-hmm. But do you agree in that? That's another comments. I mean, let me just observe comments from the economists themselves. They also have a lot of criticism towards this index, although they say that it's a good effort. What they, I will quote them: the biggest challenges facing humanity today are global and borderless climate change, economic crisis, terrorism, drug trafficking, slavery, pandemics, poverty and inequality, population growth, food and water shortages, energy, species loss, human rights, migrations, and the list goes on. So all of these problems stretches across national boundaries. So as the only way they can be properly tackled is through international efforts. The trouble is most countries carry on behaving as if they were islands, focusing on developing domestic solutions to domestic problems. We will never get anywhere unless we start to change these habits. So the good country index isn't interested in how well country are doing. It's interested in how much they are doing. Actually, I'm sorry, but the quote that I'm talking is actually directly from the Good Country Report official site. But the economists, they commented differently. Maybe Gowri, you can sort of share with them what the economists commented on the Good Country Report.
They said that the idea is very clever, but the execution is tricky because the index often scales countries on a GDP basis to give poor countries a chance against rich ones. And that's nice, but Cyprus is really a tech leader, or Malta is a cultural paragon, and the peace and security area is flawed. It penalizes countries involved in armed conflicts abroad or that sells arms. And couldn't one argue that this fosters a stable world?
Talking about the critics of the index, say if we look at the prosperity and equality index, where Malaysia has one of the highest ranking in one of the subcategories.
Mm-hmm. What was that? And in Singapore as well, right?
Prosperity and equality. Singapore, is ranked 7th actually.
But Malaysia?
Yeah, but I think at least like when I look at the term equality, right, I'd probably think of the first thing that comes into my mind is social equality, and probably is kind of addressing or it would address inequality issues in society, World Cup, and things like that. But when I actually see the criteria, it's like open trading, UN volunteers abroad, fair trade market size, FTA outflows. So these are very much dependent on large corporations and trade that a country has, not necessarily like how well a particular individual is doing in a society. So although like these countries might be doing on a national scale, I don't think it necessarily so reflects the gap in equality in those countries.
So I mean, if you based on the indicators that they stated how they get the measurements, what kind of category that it will be best replaced for the prosperity and equality?
Um, this is my personal view. When, like, at least when they say prosperity and equality, I guess it might be helpful in future days to include some form of like social measures where they actually measure like safety net in society, how well people are doing, forms of social insurance. Maybe like we talked about it earlier. We talked about all these people like the savings in Singapore that people have. What's the term that the people use?
CPF.
CPF,
Yeah.
right? Those kind of things where people actually get direct benefits from government in society. And this doesn't necessarily reflect that, because when you talk about fair trade, it's multinational corporations and like industries that's involved, not necessarily an individual.
But I mean, I even within the analysis itself, I actually have a bit of criticism. I mean, open trading and fair trade market size. What does that mean? I mean, and FDI outflows as well. So I mean, I think they need to be more specific and how they put the criteria. I mean, how can UN volunteers abroad be the same indicators together with open trading and FDI outflow? So it doesn't really make sense. I think UN volunteers abroad and development assistance should be of another indicators for another category, perhaps.
I'm wondering, like, when they talk about development assistance, are they talking about how much development assistance the country, gives to other countries, or like it receives?
I think it receives, because if I'm looking actually at the original official site of the Good Country Report, and I see Ireland criteria. I mean, and the indicators for the development assistance for Ireland is very small. So I think they receive.
Because in that case, Malaysia like receives very low amount of aid from foreign countries, like versus like say a country in Africa. Like many countries in Africa, they receive huge amount of aid. So that might also play some role and explain why Malaysia is ranked so high.
So yeah, I mean, actually, talking about Malaysian economic policy, since Najib's term, the government has already embarked on a liberalization efforts. But that's the thing, like there are some critics to it, especially socialists, inclined NGO and also political party. They see that if you deregulate the certain sectors and opening up the free signing free trade agreement, opening up the markets and all that, it will probably affect the domestic economy more than it shouldn't be. But then that's the government perspective is they see that by liberalizing the economy, focusing on more neoliberal policies, the government the country will prosper better, because then you have more investors coming in. So there's two sides towards this.
So when you measure prosperity, I think is measuring in terms of like economic gains that a country has. But say recently Bhutan developed an index called what's it called?
Yeah, Bhutan is not even on the list.
Yeah.
Glad that you mentioned that.
So it's like happiness index or something, right? Where it measures not just monetary gains, but also like how happy people are in society, how they contribute, and like just things that cannot be quantitatively measured always. So as you like pointed out, a country might be economically liberal, but like it might have strict political sanctions. So what does it tell about equality in that country?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting question to ask.
And another interesting part is I'm quite curious, like why certain countries that I think is not that bad, but is considered one of the worst. For example, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Venezuela. So they are the top worst countries in the good country list. But Gowri, what do you think of the indicators and the criteria? Do you agree with them?
I think it's a bit hard to say, because these are very I think on the surface it doesn't really go down to the individual performance in the country, and it's hard to, I think, like what Asmod likes to say, it's hard to generalize. You know, there are always exceptions, and personally, I don't think that these categories really tell us what a good country really is or isn't.
You know, you are totally correct, because it's interesting that Singapore is among the worst in the world order category. They're actually in the lowest top 10 ranking. And when I look at the criteria, I felt that Malaysia should be one of the worst.
But it says Singapore has is ranked 27th in overall in one of the rankings.
Sorry, what?
It says Singapore is ranked 27th.
Yeah, it is ranked 27 overall, if I'm not mistaken. But in the world order ranking, if you look at the chart, Singapore is actually among Rwanda and Iraq and Saudi Arabia. So I'm just curious, because when I look at the criteria, I mean the indicators, charity giving, refugee hosted, refugee generated, population growth, UN treaty signed. I don't know. I feel that Malaysia should be part of the top 10 worst list. I mean, we are not a refugee-friendly country, and and in terms of, I'm not sure about charity giving though, but we also do not sign a number of UN treaties. In fact, we only signed only a few, just 3 if I'm not mistaken. So to me personally, I don't think that I mean, I'm not sure why Singapore is there. I feel that Malaysia should be there as well.
And I think Malaysia could actually rank higher on the planet and climate category, because people love coming here for the climate. You know, it's hot all year. It's a perfect vacation place.
Mm-hmm. I also don't know how. I mean, the way the indicators and the overall ranking is very odd. And I think the biggest criticism internationally would be the international peace and security, because like, what is the justification of having Egypt, Jordan, and Tanzania, and other countries that is not really, we won't associate mainly on international peace and security to be on the top 10 charts.
I even found a comment here below the chart that said, I believe that the international peace and security results are exchanged. Egypt, Jordan, and Tanzania, which you just mentioned, are not safer than Portugal, who is always in the top 10 countries for the lowest violent crime rates.
I think I have problems with like how they word the rankings. Like I said previously, in prosperity and equality, there's also a subcategory where it says like it will rank country. It is ranking country based on culture. So what does that mean? So when you actually look at it, it says, oh, creative good exports or press freedom. But when I just look at culture, and like if someone were to skim through it, what would they expect? Oh, like, you know, how can you rank countries based on their cultures? So
yeah, what do you define creative goods exports, right? I mean, as one of the indicators for culture, and creative services exports. I would consider Japanese products to be more creative than any other countries. So. And
most of the countries here are from Europe.
There's a bit of the Euro bias, isn't it?
Might be the case if you just look at the ranking.
So anyway, well, Asmod is checking through all the rankings. Maybe we should like talk about other countries on other news. So about sorry, let me skim through. Maybe you should choose the news, Gowri.
I think we can just talk about China and Philippines, who are stirring tensions after Aquino decided to support Japan. And it seems that China on Wednesday accused the Philippines of creating more tension in the region and urged Manila to show some sincerity in upholding stability after President Benigno Aquino welcomed Japan's more assertive military policy. So it seems that Philippines are becoming more receptive towards the military defense and approach now, and also accepted Japan's agreement, and yeah, now they're good friends, I think.
Oh, that's great. And both of these countries are not in the list at all, so I'm not sure why. Not in the top 10 worst or top 10 best in the good country list. So I think I welcome China and Philippines.
It also said Japanese PM Shinzo Abe made it clear on Tuesday that he wanted an early agreement with his ruling party's dovish junior partner to ease constitutional curbs that have kept Japanese military from fighting abroad since World War II.
Yeah, so that's actually an interesting fact that a lot of people don't know. After the World War II, the Japanese were not allowed to have a strong military, what do you call? Yeah, a strong military.
Yeah, in the region.
Yeah, in the region. I think, and now that they're trying to have this partnership with Philippines, that actually helps them to expand their region, and they can actually go abroad. And
May I add on the military part, because they actually not allowed to use. I mean, they are allowed to have a military presence, but only for peacekeeping reasons. That's why if you look at Japanese, they are actually quite advanced in their military equipments, even in the way they train their military personnel. But it's only for the purpose for peace, not for war. So they signed a treaty that they would never embark in any war. They would not have a defense minister as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is why Japanese. I mean, it's actually a good thing for Japanese as well. I mean, can you see how much American have spent on their defense budget?
Yeah.
So I think by cutting down on defense budget, actually Japanese can focus more on building the economy at that time, and that's how they become one of the economic giants in the Asia region as well as the world.
But now with China developing as a regional and global power, and like the South China Sea concerns, and also some conflicts about islands, and like seeing the recent Japanese movements and his alliances, it would be very interesting to watch what future steps Japan might take.
That's true.
So the China's foreign ministry also said that Aquino's statement had complicated an already difficult situation. I think this is a very interesting statement by the China's foreign ministry, because personally I don't think that it's the Philippines that are complicating the situation here, and but the Philippines have already made an agreement with the USA, and now they're moving on to Japanese. So we can really see that they're really asserting their territory, and telling China that, hey, look, see, I've got all these backups, just so you know, and you better think twice about coming into my territory.
Yeah, better think twice. So that's all for today for our news commentary, and I hope you enjoy. And don't forget, as we said, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and as well as on YouTube. You just type durianasian.com. Also, you can follow us live on our website www.durianasian.com, or you can follow on the TuneIn app on your mobile. And as well, if you want to subscribe to our weekly digest just to keep up with the weekly news that we want to offer, just send us an email at durianasian@gmail.com. So we are signing off, and we'll be signing in back later with Blast from the Grassroots.